Recently I came across some sensors from a company called NCD.io. They sell a wireless USB modem that connects to all their sensors. They have amp meters, temperature gauges, pressure gauges, all completely wireless. They come pre-assembled with lithium-ion batteries. They're AA's. Very simple setup using a software that they provide. You can go to their website and find. I'm going to it now. Let's see. Oh, and like I said, there's Alpha Station. Now, on the website, there is a YouTube video from one of their technicians. He shows you how to do the initial setup using Alpha Station, shows you how to find the MAC address of the sensors, which is basically an identification number on the side of the box of the sensor. That it's every one of them has its own address, own name, number, whatever. It's got its own MAC address. But I would suggest watching that video, setting up the sensor how you want it to send the signals. So initially, I think they're set up for every. I think initially they're set up to send the signal every 10 minutes. You can change that down. I've got the sensors that we have at the plant set at every 2 seconds. It sends a message. So now, once you've done the initial setup, you've got the sensor. You've got the sensor sending the signal as often as you prefer. Then you can close down Alpha Station, and you'll need to download. They suggest a software called Node-RED. I'd never heard of it before, but you need to go to the web and search Node-RED. You need to get the version 12.20.1. That's the version that works with NCD.io's Node-RED palette. I'll show you. So I downloaded 12.20.1, and once it downloaded, I clicked install. Now the first time I did this, I downloaded the higher version, the newest version, and that's what this is showing you. Now what I wanted to show you, it says welcome to Node-RED. You click next, accept the terms, next. Go ahead and accept that. Now right here in particular, pay very close attention. This installs that check box that I just checked. That installs a program called Chocolatey. Chocolatey installs Python and some C++ things that are required to run Node-RED. So just go ahead and do that. Let it do its thing. It'll install all the stuff you need. I'm gonna let this run through. It's installing now. You will need to once it's all installed, it'll do a bunch of things on like a command prompt. It'll install a bunch of things from command prompt. If you start seeing errors, that's what I saw. I originally, that's why I'm making this tutorial, because when I originally downloaded Node-RED, I got the newest version, which was 16.10. That does not work, or at the time of recording this, it did not work with the NCD.io package that you have to download in Node-RED. Searched around on some forums. There's one called GitHub. They had some great guys on there that tell you how to find what you need. And anyway, I had to get the 12.20 version of Node-RED. All right, then you'll need to open up a PowerShell. You'll want to open up the PowerShell as an administrator, and then you're going to run the command node-red. It'll run. It loads the palette nodes, and what it will do is it will give you a web address that is 127.0.0.1 colon 1880 /. That will send you to basically a browser. I used Google Chrome to open it, and it shows you the Node-RED utility. Now mine's opening right now. Got a blank flow. This is the basic setup of Node-RED. First thing you're going to do is go to Manage Palette, and you will need to install each one of these. I'm going to pause it here for a second so you can see what I have installed. Click Install, and you're going to download, you'll type in ncd-red-comm. Tell it to install that. Then you need to install ncd-red-wireless. Download that and install that. I don't know if the Node-RED contrib Python 3 function was already there. It probably was. But I do know after you download those others, you need to download the Node-RED-dashboard. The dashboard gives you, for what we're doing today, for the amp probes, it gives you gauges, and the gauges allow you to display the information on a just like a fuel gauge. Once they're installed, they will be on the left-hand side of your browser screen. There is a little slider that goes up and down, and you can scroll down it. Those are all your different nodes. As you can see, we got the wireless gateway, which is what we need first. That's your USB wireless gateway from NCDIO. So we're going to drop that on the screen. We're going to come up and we're going to grab a switch node, and I'll tell you what each of these does, and then we grab a function node, and then I think we're going to grab a gauge, because I want to show you basically how I set my nodes up. I'm going to kind of walk you through this initial setup. All right, so wireless gateway. You see it says add new gateway config. You click down. All right, we're going to edit, and then modem type. We're going to click the down arrow. It's a USB modem, and then we're going to search. Now, yours should say either COM3, COM4. All this other stuff is good. Hit add and hit done. All right, now it should, once it connects to the USB modem, once I deploy it, hit deploy and hit confirm deploy. Now it says ready. All right, now I'm going to grab right here on this little dot and connect it to the switch. Those are little connectors for the nodes. That's how you wire the nodes. All right. Now I'm going to, we need to add one other thing in here. All right, we're going to slide up. We need to grab a debug node. These are great. This is how you find the information coming from the sensor. Okay, see how it's got the green ticked? I'm going to open it up. I'm going to click the message. I want the complete message object. I'm going to click done. I'm going to click debug, but I have to then click deploy to make sure it gets deployed. All right, now I'm going to open it, double click the switch node, and see those little arrows? We're going to down click and then down click on payload, and we scroll down. See the address, the ADDR? All right, we need to copy that information because we want to get the payload from that MAC address from that sensor. That is the address of, I believe, this is when I was setting up the pressure sensor. We want to put payload.addr because that's the address or the MAC address. And then we're going to copy the we're going to copy the MAC address and paste it in that next line there where it's got the down arrow with the A to Z. We'll click Done. And we're going to drag across a line to the function node. Double click the function node. And I'm going to show you how to set this up. Alright, I just pasted in a function on line 1 in the function node of the onMessage. So basically the switch node is grabbing the data from the MAC address of the sensor that we're looking at. Okay, that specifies what sensor we're wanting to get data from. Alright, now in the function node, I'm trying to grab a piece of that data. So I'm telling it in this, I'm looking at the message.payload space =, space message.payload dot sensor underscore data dot pressure. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to grab the pressure sensor data from that sensor. Alright, so I'm telling it I want that data every time it sends it. Actually, I'm going to grab it after the function because I want to see what data I'm getting. Alright, I got to click deploy, confirm deploy. Everything should be good. I need to clear all right there. Alright, now I'm still in the debug node. So look, I'm getting the payload data of negative 281.97 psi. I drag the line over to the gauge. Alright, now I'm double click the gauge and I'm opening it. Alright, here's your settings for the gauge. I'm reading negative 281.97, so I'm going to set the minimum to negative 300. The maximum, this is a 5,000 psi pressure sensor, so I'm going to set it to that. I need to add a new dashboard group, so I click that, and I'm going to call this what? Truck pressure sensor pressure gauge. That looks good. I'm going to add a new dashboard tab. That's all good. Add. Alright, and that looks good. Deploy. Okay, now over on the right hand side, I just cleared that out. Now on the right hand side there's a down arrow. Click that, go to dashboard, and you can see that I have a truck pressure gauge and a home screen in my dashboard. If you click this icon here, that opens up the dashboard. So now this is the dashboard. You see that I have a gauge listed there. You can rename that. You can do a lot of things, and it's reading negative 281.97 units. You can change that to PSI, whatever it ends up being. So you can see how this will be really handy. I've got a wireless sensor sitting on my desk, connected to a wireless modem. They can go up to almost 2 miles away. Now I'm blowing on the sensor and I'm getting 1.72 psi, so it's like almost immediate that it gets the pressure reading. Alright, now I'm going to go back to my nodes here. I'm going to clear that out. Look at my messages. Alright, there's my PSI, 1.72 in the payload. Alright. I want to make sure you see this. Now I'm going to change the name of this node so I know what it is, or what it's doing. Okay. This node defines the MAC address of my pressure sensor. So that's what we're doing with the payload address, and there's the MAC address. Done. And you can rearrange these nodes however you want. It's pretty cool. This program's really neat. So I'm gonna move this over. I'm gonna move this around a little bit so I can make all this fit. Don't let the complexity of it fool you. It's really, once you get in here and play around with it, it's not too bad. You can drag it, you can resize the desktop like this pretty easily. Alright, now I think we're gonna go in here and move that debugger out of the way. Alright, we're going to name this node. This is going to get pressure reading from sensor. So we're telling it we're out of that payload, we want to get that pressure reading because there's a lot of information in that payload. There's battery level, there's temperature on that same sensor. That one sensor does pressure and temperature. So you could do 2 gauges, but you have to separate out the data. All right, so I'm going to deploy that. We're going to look at it again. All right, now it's reading 0.68. That's great. Okay, now that's how you set up that was the initial setup I did for a pressure sensor. Now I had to figure all that out by myself, but I did it for you, showed you kind of how I did it. That may not be the only way to do it in this program, but that's the way I figured out how to do it. Now I want to show you my next one, okay? Currently, I have a lot more sensors hooked up. Okay, this is the new node tree in Code Red. All right, it's a little bigger. Don't let the size fool you. It shouldn't be daunting. This bottom section here is what I'm going to be dealing with because this is the amp meters. Okay. Now this one is set up on COM3, my wireless modem from ncd.io. All right, the first one we're going into. Let's see. We'll open this up. I think. Yeah. All right. Payload dot address again. This is the MAC address of amp meter at plant 1 right here. All right. And then what I've done, I've got these functions set up. All right. The first function on this one, if you look closely, message.payload equals payload or message.payload sensor, and this is data channel 1. Okay, it's going to be data channel 2. Now all these are listed. You grab the debug node, you grab the information from the output of the payload, and you can find these addresses. But this is the way I entered these right here. If you look closely, data underscore. I'll zoom in so you can see that because it's and I'll slow it down a little bit so you can see it good. There's my debug node. I'm going to move it. You can grab the information right out of that to see what we're seeing. All right. I'm looking at the complete message. Yeah, complete message. Done. All right. Got to turn it on. Right there, that little green that tells you it's on, activated. Then we have to deploy it. Okay. Now we're going to go to the bug and look at the debug. All right. There's the sensor readings. See how I'm getting them quicker? I was getting them every 2 seconds. If we open that up, what data am I getting? I'm getting a payload data of like 20,004. All right, those should be in amps, but that is this data channel 1. But it's reading 20,004. All right, so we're going to deploy. I'm going to clear that. I turn the debugger off. All right, I'm going to take that off. Okay, now I'm going to grab the data from there, show you in the debugger. We're going to deploy. Now I should be getting a full payload, which will show me everything from the sensor. Oh, there we go. Yeah, see, we got battery percentage. We got, we'll open this up. That shows me the channels, and that's what they're sending. Each amp probe is on a wire of a 3-phase motor. So you can go right here and you can copy the path of that channel 1. Okay, that's one way you can get that path, that channel underscore 1 path. All right, I'm going to open this back up and I'll show you. So I just copied that. And I'm just going to paste it up here so you can see what it copied. Control V. All right, see that is that message.payload down there. That's the information. So you type message in front of it, dot, and then you can paste that payload sensor data channel 1 in there. These are the gauges. These are the amp meters, we'll say. I had to go in and set them up. All right, you can set up a group. See, I got various groups now. If you want to group them together, you just create a new group and you can drag them and move them around. You can add a new dashboard group. But this is plant 1, conveyor 2. All right, went in there. Quarry motor, amp motors, that's the tab. You can have multiple tabs on your dashboard. So say here you got truck pressure gauges. I can go to that. And then quarry amp meters. Those are my current amp readings at the quarry. All right, so there's your size. You can say what kind of gauge it is. You can label the gauge. All right, now right here I had to, since that reading was coming back as 20,000, I had to divide the value by 1,000. So that would give me my 20 amps, right? Instead of 20,000 amps. That's not quite correct. So I put that in there as divide. I just figured that out. Nobody told me how to do that. I just said, well, it's reading 20,000 or 47,000. So I need to divide that to get that information. So I divided the value that it was returning by 1,000. All right, so I'll show you that again. See, it's 20,000. So we divided this by 1,000. All right. Now the range has to be from, on the amp meters, it's going to be 0 to, since it's a 30 amp motor or a 30 amp fuse, I put 30,000 because remember it's returning thousands. So you can change these colors. What I've done here is it's got sectors for each of the colors. So if the motor at the plant, the way we run these, if the motor at the plant's running too slow, it's got a sweet spot for that motor to be running in. If he's running it too slow, we're not producing enough material. So in that instance, we've got it set from 0 to 22 amps. That means he's running too slow or it's off. The gauge will show the color yellow. All right. So that's why I have 22,000 in there once again, because that's what the raw data is reading. All right. So it's green from 22,000 to 25,900. That's where we want him to be. Now from 25,900 to 30 amps, that's the red zone. That's too much. So that's how you can do sectors on your gauges, and you can change those colors to whatever you want them to be on the output. So like I said, we divide by 1,000. It gives us our amperage. So let's see. Turn the debugger off. We'll deploy. Those debugger nodes are great because they can show you what data you're getting from each section. All right. So these are your menu items, and you can also drop down the menu. All right. These are all your different settings, configuration nodes, dashboard. There's the dashboard I have set up right now. I know it looks daunting, but it's really not that bad once you figure it out. You can play around with it, rearrange stuff. I finally got it somewhat arranged how I want it right here. I've done the dark mode theme. You can set the theme over on the side there. You can put it in dark mode, but this whole section here is what we're seeing right there. I've got the battery levels. I thought that would be cool to have from the sensors. And then I've got all the amp readings that we need. I'm going to close these down a little because we got so much stuff open. All right, now I can show you right here. You can go to layout. Now this, I believe, comes with that dashboard UI I had you download. All right, you can adjust your layout by this. You can change the width of the sections. It shows you the titles. You can change the size of the gauges right here. You can drag them and make them bigger or smaller. You just gotta kind of play around with it because stuff doesn't really center right sometimes, and I think there may be some answers on how to do that, but I don't know how to do it. I've just tried to make it look as good as I can for our purposes. Yeah, this is a really cool graphical interface on, setting up. We can do, you can add, my plan is to add a lot more pressure gauges because I'm going to put them on our concrete trucks at our plants. And we're going to add some more amp meters to our quarry. I work in a rock quarry in Kentucky, and that's the payload I got for battery percent. Thought that would be a good thing to see because the sending units are way over with our motor controls at the quarry, and we kind of want to know what the battery levels are doing. If they start getting low, we'll go replace the batteries. I run this on a Windows laptop that's connected to our network at work. I had to open up port 1880 on the laptop. It's not open on, to the web because we have a firewall between my computer and the web, but it is open on the network. All right, so what I've done is I've got this running on that computer. If I was the only one that wanted to see this information, that would be all I'd need to do. I wouldn't even have to open the port. But I opened the port. All right, now I can direct any other device on the network that's on the wireless network or wired network at our work to the IP address of the laptop that I have this port open on. Okay, so you type in the IP address of the laptop, all right, and then semicolon 1880 /. Once the dashboard's open and running on the laptop, they can see the dashboard too. So what I've done is I've got a wireless router over at our control booth. I put an iPad in there, connected the iPad to the network, and I've made I basically made an icon for Safari, and I pointed the Safari browser to the IP address of this laptop, and he is seeing that dashboard. So he can see his amp meters over there while he's running basically in real time, wirelessly. So just thought I'd tell you how I went about getting this set up. Hopefully it helps some of you guys that might buy these sensors. You can basically, from what I can tell, you can basically take these steps that I've done and pull whatever data you want from these sensors using the function nodes and the switch nodes. Now, I've done them to gauges. There's lots of other nodes that you can use. I mean, there's people that build entire control panels out of this thing. So, but it's doing awesome for what I wanted it to do. And I thought it took me so long to make this work. I thought hopefully I could help somebody do a tutorial, show you how I did it, maybe make it a little bit easier. If you found the video helpful, please hit the like button, share it with somebody. Hopefully it'll help them on their journey in programming in Node-RED and getting these NCD.io sensors to work for them. Thanks for watching.